See,
Oh,
is
right. Yeah.
that room?
That's the ceremonial meeting hall.
That's the ceremony. That room is phenomenal.
Okay. Let me
That
tell
is,
you, I'll tell you a little story about this because this was one of the very earliest sets that I turned my hand to because at the outset it was just post-COVID lockdown.
mm,
And so I could hire people, but they couldn't come into the office. So I started off with a couple of set designers, and I thought, well, this is our biggest interior, so let's get cracking on this. What I did was I went to the site of the Nijojo Castle, which was flagged as our sort of primary relevant reference for this particular room. These tiger paintings are very typical, and the only thing that's incorrect about what you're looking at right now is there should have been a flat ceiling. At the very beginning of the show, I looked at the architecture. I thought, well, okay, a relatively low flat ceiling is going to, it's certain it'll prohibit the light. It will be perhaps not as interesting as more interesting if you took the ceiling away. So would everybody accept? So what you're looking at is actually incorrect. I
you
will
gave it
admit
that great shadow there, and that great shaft of light is what you've
that
given
was
it.
the purpose. That was the purpose because very early on, talking with Frederick, it was super clear that the primary source of lighting to light the sets was actually the gardens outside. And so typically the paper shoji screens would be opened, either they could be removed or they could just be slid apart, but you allowed daylight to flood in. I felt that this gave us, having no ceiling, could we buy that architecturally? Would everybody accept that? And it was a bit of a round table on that. And we decided that we could go ahead with it because it created a lot more interesting lighting
Oh yeah.
conditions
And
with
just that scene there with him, the way he is sitting and the light is behind him, it's just gorgeous. And it's gold and it's and his costume and everything, it's just gorgeous. They're
yeah.
like paintings. It's like you've created gorgeous paintings.
Yeah. Well, I had the help of an incredible illustrator, a girl that I've worked with for a number of years now, Kirsten Franson. And she dived right into this period and to all the research, all the brush strokes, etc. What we would do is we develop a bit of a theme for each room, and she painted these digitally. So we learned very early on that the best way to approach it was to have her spend 2 or 3 weeks at least on each room, and she would paint in like high resolution digitally, and then
Those panels. Those
we would gild the panel, like the
oh,
actual
wow.
panels, and then we would send them off to a printing house, and quite often they would do a pass of white ink, and then other colors on top of that. So the white bellies of the tigers are printed as a separate layer, and we ended up printing, and it made perfect sense to us. I mean, we have some wonderful scenic painters who can generally move fairly swiftly, but some of these rooms took a decade or more to paint,
Right.
and
You
so
gotta
it was
wait. You gotta wait. Maybe a
exactly
day.
absolutely, yeah.
It's Friday.
And we used everything, all the a lot of the hardware was printed, 3D printed. I was asked on some other interview site, did we use traditional Japanese tools? No. We
No.
used guns, we used whatever was available to us, and